A brand new year. Hey, Coach. It's Caryn Gillen coming at you from Coach Business, the podcast where we talk about all things coaching and business. And today, in light of this new year, I really want to talk to you about your one thing. The one thing that you know stands between you and where you want to be. Some people might call it your big domino. Others might call it resistance. Some might call it the thing that you never do, but you know you need to. I don't really care what you call it. I want to talk about doing it and letting your one thing work for you instead of against you. So, having coached for 15 years and helped humans with change work for like 20 years now, we all have our thing, and it's a beautiful thing. And there's no getting out of having your thing. And your thing will come with you and it will be a part of all of your major transitions and all of your low drama moments as well as your high drama moments. Like it's just a part of your personal human condition and fantastic. I think what we have to do is one, have the awareness of what it is. What is my one thing? What is the one thing where if I just did that one thing, I would get where I was going, or I would get what I would want, or I would have the result that I've been so close to, but maybe haven't made happen yet. And in our pursuits of becoming who we are, becoming in general, most of us find that there's something that's our one thing. I have mine, you have yours. And when you have the pleasure of working with clients consistently year over year, you see that they have theirs too. And you see that we humans are so good at judging ourselves for our one thing that it's another January and my one thing is the same. My one thing has not changed. But I want to remind you that you have, and the world around you has. And even if your one thing is the same, you are not the same with it. And it's okay that your one thing is your one thing right now. And maybe it will be for a very long time. That's okay. Let's just decide that that's okay. Because once we decide that we don't have to fight with reality about it, then we can actually move into a useful and helpful space around, well, how do I work with it? What wants to happen with my one thing? Right? Because if we're fighting with it existing, there's no chance we're changing it. And it goes for any of the things you're fighting. Because if we're fighting its existence, we are nowhere near acceptance. So, first of all, step one, let's accept our one thing. There's this one thing that I know if I did, and I set up a system around, and I did routinely, and I celebrated and supported and did all of the things to make the one thing really work for me, that it would change everything. I'm hoping that by now you know what yours is in your mind. It's probably related to your goal. And because I primarily talk to coaches about business on here, we're going to talk about it in that in that vein. So your one thing could be, I know without a doubt that if I just did X, then Y would happen. But for some reason, X is always last on my list, always gets pushed to next week, never gets crossed off. And there it is. And maybe that was the whole of your 2024. Maybe you made it through an entire year without doing the one thing. And here's what I think is amazing about that: we can create a ridiculous amount of success and change and impact and beauty without doing our one thing. But it requires that we do lots and lots and lots of other things. Sometimes way more than we would ever need to if we just did the one thing. So, what's up with that? I mean, I think resistance is definitely up with it. I think the judgment about what the one thing is, I think fear. Because what really comes up for me when I think about my one thing and all of our one things is that if we do the thing that we truly believe is the one thing, and then nothing happens, nothing changes, then where are we? Then my one thing maybe wasn't my one thing, or I wasn't good enough in it, or any number of terrible outcomes your brain could come up with. And I want to just have a little moment of understanding for the part of us that protects us by pushing the one thing off so that we don't have to find out that maybe we were wrong and that maybe we don't know and maybe the dream isn't for us. I see you there. I feel you. And here's what I want to also check in on and give some space to. What I have seen, I don't know, thousands of times with myself and with everyone I've worked with, and just because life and humans, is that when we do the work to be with ourselves enough to do the one thing and deal with the resistance and everything that comes up, when we do that courageous work of actually doing the one thing, no matter what, there are riches on the other side. And I don't just mean money, I mean a wealth of self understanding, increased knowledge about yourself, experience, learning, potentially money, energy, joy, insight. There is so much on the other side of you knowing this is my one thing and you taking the steps to do the thing and you completing it and going for it and trying again. There is so much on the other side of that for you that I I don't see a downside. I know that our subconscious is will protect us from a million downsides that could happen. But on the other side, what I know is you are a sense making machine. You will find the truth that is for you, that will grow you, and that will get you closer to whatever it is that's going on. Because that's who you are. That's who we are. So we have our one thing, we have our resistance to doing the one thing, and then we're practiced at it. We're really good at not doing the one thing. We're really good at doing the whole bunch of other things that aren't the one thing in case the one thing doesn't work. But I just want to hold the phone line for your one thing for this amount of minutes that we have here and really try it on together. What if you did your one thing before you did anything else? What if nothing mattered as much as your one thing? What if everything else got set aside until your one thing was your done thing? Then what's possible? Then who are you? You're the person who's done your one thing. What's on the other side of that? Seriously, think about it. It's 11 a.m. on Tuesday, and your one thing, you did it for the day. You put in the effort there. You did what you could do in any one given day with your one thing. And now it's 11:05. And there's other stuff on your list that you could do, but your one thing is done. How do you feel? Who are you? Because that one thing is done. Who do you get to be today with that one thing being your done thing? Do you like that version of you? Do you like how it feels? Do you want to do that more often? And how often could you, do you think, withstand that feeling of your one thing being done for today? And here's an even more important question. How often do you even need your one thing to be done in any given day or week or month? For some of us, the one thing is a one time thing. For others of us, it's a daily thing. It's a habit. It's a skill to develop on the daily. For others of us, if we did our one thing more than twice a week, it would be excessive, unnecessary. So think about it for you. Is your one thing a one time thing, or is it a daily thing, or somewhere in the middle? What would success be for you with your one thing? Can we do that? Can we do your one thing as often as it needs to be done and no more, and then enjoy the effects of it? The learning, the impact, and that huge balloon of energy that comes after it's done for the day or the week or the quarter or in general. Can you be the person who packs around a huge balloon of extra energy knowing your one thing is done? So I'm going to leave you with this. And I expect you to email me or hit me up on Instagram and tell me what your one thing is. Or even if not your one thing, tell me how often your one thing actually would need to happen for you to get where you're going this year. For some of us, it's once a week. It's not major, but it's like, I got to get over myself once a week with my one thing. And then I have this feeling that everything would be flipping fine. And all of this other BS that I'm trying to like scramble and figure out would be irrelevant. Because that's the thing about one things, they're deck cleaners. They just clear the decks of all the other stuff that doesn't quite fit because they're the one thing. They're all that was required. So here we go. Here we go off into this beautiful year with all the promise that every year has. And we don't know what will happen. And I think we know more about what could happen than we ever have before because every year we're wiser and we've experienced more of this wild planet and what we can do on it. So I just thank you for even pulling the curtain back and giving your one thing a sniff and considering what could actually happen if I made friends with it, if I did it, if I became the person whose one thing was just my new habit. And I developed the skill of being the person who did the one thing. And there was nothing wrong with me because I hadn't done it before. There's nothing exceptional about me because I'm doing it now. It's just because I decided and then I kept deciding to do the one thing. Let's do it together. All right. I'm your host, Caryn. I'm a coach for the humans and the coaches. If you need support this year, let me know. I've got room for one on one client right now. And we do have a few spaces in the small group coaching. And as you know, the membership is open and running. We are having fun. Let's do your one thing. I'll do mine. Let's make a deal. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for being here.